Hello. Good morning. A couple of Irina. This could be a special morning. Get some Irina questions in. Hello. How are you? Cool. You're the first one in, first and only. And I saw a blues hat pop up at one point. Okay. Well, there's not too many other people that are. Let's see. Oh, there's no sound. It's a great start. We got one person and no sound. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, she hasn't connected yet. All right. So far, so good. So I'm really just talking to myself. I mean, I'm really talking to. and now she's gone. I'm really talking for the sake of the recording. If anyone actually goes back and watches the live stream of this one, then welcome. I'm talking to you. Because normally on a Wednesday morning like this, we do tend to get people come in eventually. But hey,
What's up?
hey, hey there, Blue. Do you know we're so good at this that people just have no questions.
Yeah, no, I that's usually exactly how it goes. Oh
Well, you
man.
did do you did a little tech leap tech session, didn't you? Tech workshop.
We did, yeah. Yesterday was Tech Lab, and we had a bunch of we did a full walkthrough of Obvio actually. It was kind of fun.
Cool. Did you record it?
I hope so. Usually those things are recorded. I'm pretty sure we did, yeah.
Nice. Hey,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
Welcome. Um, you're the second person to come in, but the first to stay. So Irina has got some questions that she's posted, some things about broadcast emails and things, but we might as well wait for her to come back. It seemed like she didn't connect to audio, so we'll see about that. Getting coffee going, very good. Assume that the salmon went well last week, Muddy. Tummy, yeah, tummy, yummy for your tummy. All right. My recommendation to those people that are watching the recording back is fast forward 20 minutes. That's my guess. As we'll get some people. Oh, yeah, Jenny's in now. Now we'll get some fun.
Lou, I'm curious what stood out for you in the workshop yesterday. I thought it went well.
I think the thing that stood out the most was my ability to actually continue talking for 8 hours. I was rather impressed with myself, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, that it went a little longer than I don't know. It felt longer than it actually was, and it always surprises me how much you can do with Obvio, and we barely scratched the surface, right? I mean, we spoke for 8 hours. We kind of, we went
really
through
did
and
do 8 hours.
pardon me?
You really did 8 hours.
Yeah, yeah. It started at 11 and it ended at 7, like 7:02. I mean, there were a couple of breaks, right? There was, I think, two 15-minute breaks and a 20-minute break, so it was probably closer to 7. Um, but yeah, it was a long day. The first 90 minutes were more a little bit of like setup, like reminder why we use Obvio, how it came about, and what we intended the platform as. Is that was the start.
Mm.
And then we kind of dove into templates, which template is best for which style of event. What are the downsides to using cards and Nifty? Because those two templates, while they look cool, also have some downsides to them. So
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about that. Then we got into actually starting creating the actual first event with sample data, and went through and actually modified, like just customized 2 templates. I created like a Windows 95 template, which was actually kind of funny.
That's cool.
um, and then we
Did you
also
have
somebody had
startup
a
music? Have some
no,
startup
I didn't
music?
have startup music, but I had where it came from is I was trying to think of a background image, and we chose the like the blue sky with the green
Yes,
rolling hill from Windows
yes,
95.
that's
That was
cool.
the background image that we used. Um, I didn't go retro Microsoft, so it was their current logo rather than the past logo. But then we lifted the 4 colors from the logo and used those colors to customize the rest of the dashboard. So, that was kind of fun. And what else did we do after that? We got into a little bit how to import attendees. We didn't dive too deep into that because that's such a rabbit hole, because everybody can do it differently. There it is. I know, for some reason that sound is soothing, even more so than like the Mac startup sound, like.
Yeah.
Do you remember the actual Windows 95 campaign with with the Rolling Stones song with "Start Me Up" as the that was fun.
Oh, that's older. Oh, that was a shutdown sound.
I thought it was neat to see for a lot of folks, it was their first time logging into Obvio at all, and
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
certainly creating a dashboard. So I thought the way that you did it, that people could kind of follow along. Um, you know, obviously, as we know, there's a lot to it, right? You can do a lot. We did just scratch the surface, but I think it was at a pace that was enough that you asked the question at the end, how many people started on their dashboard? And I thought it was a good number of people in the room kind of went along and actually followed along and started building dashboards during the call. So that was
Yeah,
cool.
which was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was neat as well.
It's really cool. I think that there's a bit more uptake in Zoom events and things like that. I think that's so it's just interesting to see what's going on in the market a little bit of people that are running digital events and how they're doing it. So
Yeah.
makes me think there was quite a bit of chat on office hours yesterday about Zoom and Zoom events and bits and pieces, and so we've got to get on there and chat to them sometime. But I guess we just need to get marketplace working first. That seems like a key
Well, we need to have a decent,
milestone.
sign up page. One
Yeah,
that says a little bit about what the application is, rather than just here, sign up for a free trial.
I'm sure. I'm sure Muddy would be happy to have his um, his affiliate link for, office hours. If we're looking for a startup page.
One of one. Yeah.
One of one. Nice. Hey Jenny, just hanging out. You'll I'm sure other people will come along. I wonder if the broadcast didn't go out. The reminder. Is that possible?
Yeah, I got the email.
You got it?
I did not see a text message.
But I guess, leapers make up quite a few of the people, and they probably got lots of their questions answered yesterday.
Possibly, but we definitely also, there were some definitely some unanswered questions by the end of the day. And a few questions that were like, okay, remember, and we talked a lot about this call actually. There were a few questions that I just deferred and said, if that's a question that you have, it's a little bit more advanced, you should definitely show up for the Q&A call.
Right.
Of course.
Because in 8 hours you didn't have enough time to.
The morning one is always a little harder, but
yeah.
Lou, did I hear you say that there was a new integration release? Was that ConvertKit maybe?
yeah, ConvertKit's out.
And
It works a little differently.
okay.
Yeah,
I just tell me more.
Yeah. So the ConvertKit integration, I mean, much like all the others, it's very, very similar in that you go to the services page and you select ConvertKit as your integration. And it's going to ask for an API and an API key, or an API URL and an API key. And both of those you get from from the settings page of your account, and then you go to advanced, and that's where you grab that. And then once you get into ConvertKit, there's a few things that you've got to set. One is the attendee import or delete tag, which is kind of what we call the umbrella tag, which is the same as most of the other integrations with the exception of HubSpot. And that tag is used to add or remove attendees from Obvio. The one that's a little bit different is, in order to update existing attendees, you have to apply an update tag in order for that to work with ConvertKit. And what that update tag does is it says to Obvio from ConvertKit, hey, this attendee has some updates. Please update their contact record in Obvio. And Obvio then updates their contact record in Obvio and then removes the update tag from that particular attendee. And the reason it removes the update tag from the attendee is so that if you have a change to that same attendee again in the future, you can apply the update tag again to update them. So for those of you who are creating automations inside of ConvertKit, things like applying a new tag on purchase or removing a tag or something along those lines, you have to apply the tags that you want to add to Obvio inside ConvertKit through your workflows. And then the last step is apply the update tag, which will then update the attendee in Obvio. So it's a little bit different because of how the ConvertKit API works, but that allows us to essentially create and update existing attendees. Next up, you've got the login URL field.
It's not a terrible way of doing it, is it? Like it's, at least you've got a bit of control. Like it's one way of doing it.
Well, and what it comes down to is the ConvertKit. Some of the APIs that we work with, like Keep and ActiveCampaign and MailChimp as an example, when you apply any tag, we get what's called a webhook coming our way into Obvio, and we're able to make changes. And also when you make any change to the contact record, change a name, change an email address, change an address, whatever, same thing, we get notified by those services. But it's also rather inefficient, because it means that you may make a bunch of changes that don't matter to Obvio, and Obvio still gets a notification. In the case of ConvertKit, you can only request updates based on specific actions. So it's more specific, rather than sending a webhook anytime a tag or a contact record is applied. You only get a webhook when a specific tag that you ask about is applied or removed. So it's a little bit, a lot of these are a function of how their API works, right? And actually what's interesting is the next integration that we're working on, which is for a service called Entreport, works the exact same way that ConvertKit works. So this same process will be true for Entreport, in that there'll be an update tag as well as an import tag. So login URL field. This is the custom field inside ConvertKit where we'll save your attendee's login URL. You can select existing fields, or you can create a new field directly from Obvio. Then ConvertKit is interesting because by default, there is no last name field inside of ConvertKit. So attendees or users of ConvertKit actually have to create a last name field, just like any other custom field. And because that's the case, users have very different names for their last name field, right? Some have last, some have last underscore name, some have last dash name, some have L name. Like there's all sorts of options. So as a result, and some people actually just put the full name inside the first name field. So for ConvertKit, you have to define a last name field. And this is not optional. You actually have to do this. And you have two options. If you have decided to keep your name field as one, you can extract the last name from the first name, which basically means where there's a space, we will assume that what's after that space is the last name. Or what most people have done who have used ConvertKit that I've interacted with anyway, they have a last name field. So you can select that field the same way you can select the login URL field. You can also, if you haven't created a last name field and you have a brand new account, you can create a new last name field. But again, most ConvertKit users have already created a last name field. Then you can select a phone number field. That phone number field is valuable, especially if you're going to be using SMS and texting your attendees from within the Obvio application. So just know that that's the reason why you'd want to do that. And then the rest is very similar to the rest of our integrations, where there are action tags, where you can predefine tags that are applied in ActiveCampaign based on when the attendee is created, when the attendee checks in, and when they sign the waiver. And then if you have additional fields that you want to import, like city or state or country or something specific, you can do that as a group. So you can come in here, type in like city as an example, and then look for the city field, which I actually don't have in my ConvertKit account. Or you can create a new field, right? So the new field inside of ConvertKit is going to be city, and you click save. And then once you've done that, all new attendees will get imported. Again, similar to other integrations that we have. But if you have existing attendees who have the tag, you go ahead and press import attendees, and then that will bring in all of the attendees from your existing ConvertKit system. So that's how it works. It's actually very similar to the other integrations with a couple minor tweaks. Something that we've noticed is ConvertKit has some I'll just call it throttles on how many times we can interact via the API over a set period of time. So if you're importing a large number of attendees from ConvertKit, like let's say over 1,000 attendees, it can take a little while for those attendees to come in. So just know that they do start to come in, but it takes a little bit because of some limitations on the ConvertKit side. But what I've also noticed is once you have the integration set up, new attendees come in pretty quickly, usually within about 1 to 2 minutes. And same with updates to existing attendees. Those come in really quickly, again, within 1 or 2 minutes. So that's ConvertKit.
Nice.
Seeing as we're talking about
Integrations.
I guess new things. Muddy, did you notice that there are a whole bunch of confirmation dialogues that have been added to the platform? So
I feel like I saw one, but I don't, it didn't jump out at me. So
yeah, so one of the, I'll say, constructive criticism items that we've had is how easy it is to remove something, right? So you have this button, and previously, if you went into it and if your mouse slipped as you were pressing save and you accidentally clicked remove, it would just remove the button without confirmation. And that's true of not just buttons, but also blog posts or sections in the sidebar, etc. So now when you do that, there's a little confirmation dialog that just says, "Are you sure?" Right? And it's just confirm or cancel. And if you're sure, you press confirm and it goes away. If you did it by accident, then you can just click cancel. And it was actually even more difficult or kind of easy to delete things by accident in the sidebar, because in the sidebar, in some areas, when you had sections, there's these red buttons that you don't even have to go into the panel to do it. You could just click remove and the whole resources section would disappear, and then you'd have to re-add it. So now if you accidentally click remove on that, you get a little confirmation dialog box that says, "Hey, are you sure?" So not exactly earth-shattering in terms of a feature, but definitely a little bit more difficult to delete things accidentally than it was not long ago. This is very similar to the other usability thing that we did earlier this year, where when you go into an element, make changes to it, and accidentally click the dashboard or click out of the element, there's a confirmation that says, "Hey, you made some changes. Do you want to save those changes or discard them?" Right? Just in an effort to make it easier for users to not make mistakes that potentially could have them lose their work. Again, those aren't exactly their quality. That's a good way to say it, Muddy. They're quality of life improvements, not necessarily something that is like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited that Obvio can now do this," right? It's more like, okay, yeah, feels like maybe that should have been there right from the beginning, but there it is.
Yeah, it was definitely room for improvement. It was really something there we got on.
Well, I mean, listen, I say this more often these days. Grant, you know what it's like now having done this, right? I mean, prior to having built a software platform, we'd log into something and you'd be like, "Oh, I can't believe, Infusionsoft behaves this way. Why don't they change this? This has been like this for like 3 years. What the heck?" And now actually having worked with developers firsthand rather than just used their, I guess, the fruits of their labor. Yeah, exactly. I have a little bit more, I guess, sympathy, empathy, whatever, understanding of of what it takes. I guess there are times that I think to myself, yeah, man, I wish it did this, but pot calling the kettle black here. I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah. Okay, so Irina's internet is down. She has got a couple of questions that we could just answer, and Muddy, you could just let her know that it will be in the live stream recording. She said, "I'm confused. I used two variables in the welcome email, the name and the unique link. When I received the test email, the name was Karen, which doesn't exist on my dashboard, and the link took me to Ryan, the website that doesn't exist. And is it by design for testing, or did I do something wrong? Should the test email come in my name instead?"
You know, I think the answer to that question is interesting. Perhaps, yes, it should come in your name instead, but it doesn't, and it's by design. So what happens inside of those variables is random data is inserted. So it's not anything that makes any sense. It's just kind of like, here's a random first name, and for the login URL, here's a random link. So it's more about making sure that the email looks the way you want it to look, and that there is a link where you have put it, rather than about seeing it with your information. And I could see that being something that we should or could potentially change to make a little bit more sense to, perhaps go to the dashboard, or go to a, something along those lines. So, I think we have a list of improvements to the broadcasting system, not the least of which is an update to give you a little bit more visibility into how many emails have been sent and received and opened and so on and so forth, which I also think is something that it would be nice to have visibility into, along with that same sort of reporting for SMS messages. So there are some areas that we are working on making the system a little bit more user-friendly, and that's definitely one of them.
Then another question: I integrated Obvio with ActiveCampaign and assigned tags to the attendees in ActiveCampaign. What do I have to do to send the broadcast from ActiveCampaign to include the individual link in every email?
That is a great question for ActiveCampaign support. And what you're going to be asking ActiveCampaign is, how do I merge a custom field into an email broadcast? Because you have a link that is stored inside of a custom field in your ActiveCampaign account. And within that, when you send a broadcast, the same way you insert a first name or a last name into an email, you're also going to want to send or insert that URL, which is just a custom stored in that custom field, into an email. And to be frank, I'm actually not a heavy ActiveCampaign user. So
you're not very active.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not actively using ActiveCampaign. That's a lot of actives in one sentence. But you have me logging into my account to see how to do it. I know we've done it. I just don't do it often.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even remember how you send emails. Is it just campaigns? I feel like maybe it is.
Yeah. I mean, the general process is the same. In the concept is the same in all of those integrations that can send emails out. Is that a custom field is updated on that system, and then it's a matter of being able to, how do you insert that custom field into the body of an email. And sometimes it's a copy and paste. Sometimes it's a merge field, a particular way of writing that merge field. And sometimes you can just copy and paste that and it replaces that merge field text. Sometimes it is, more of a built-in system where you actually have to insert that field. Here she comes. See if that worked. She's having trouble. She can't connect to audio, which is odd. On her phone, normally it comes straight up with that option there, but it is possible to cancel away from it. Maybe that's what's happening, but
so I have another
yeah
question from Irina. She pinged me, and it also relates to the ActiveCampaign integration. But once you have an integration set up, you actually have other options that show up under styling for buttons. So with a button, she's seeing a question around tag, right? So when you have an integration set up and you create a button, there's an option to have an ActiveCampaign tag associated with a button, right? So and my understanding is that means when they click the button, if you put something in there, then that tag will be applied to them in ActiveCampaign. Is that a correct understanding?
That's what I would assume, because it
is a correct understanding. Yes,
tag would not be a good term to be using for a field, right? Because a tag can't be different. Like it's not storing different data in a tag. It is, by its very name, it's just tagging it with one piece of data, the name of the tag. So that makes sense. Yeah, you're clicking. So I noticed that in her question too, as it was updating tags. It was like, maybe it is, but it might not actually be updating the join URL, the magic link.
And here I'm in ActiveCampaign and just kind of messing around with a broadcast. And once you get into the broadcast area, when you're editing text, there is a way to add a personalization tag inside of ActiveCampaign or inside of the email builder. And you click on that, you search for the link, you select the link, and that will give you essentially what the merge code looks like in order to insert that custom field. So what you then do is you can copy that merge code and you can say like, all right, click here. And then you can highlight that, click here, and select the link. And then in the link, put other personalization tag and paste in the actual personalization tag, right? Which is that percentage Obvio login in my case, because that's what the field is called. But in order to find out what that is, the easiest way that I can see to do it is just to, in plain text, do a search for within the personalization and just then copy it from there, right? You can then also do the same thing to buttons. When you insert a button, you can paste the URL tag or personalization tag into the link, or you can just include it as plain text in that same way. So that's how it appears to work inside of ActiveCampaign.
Nice. Okay. So we don't have any other questions that were posted on the dashboard. We've got a few extra people that are joining us now. You're welcome to ask any questions that you might have, whether they be entry-level basic questions about how to use Obvio, or perhaps more advanced, like when we talk about integrations, like we were with ActiveCampaign. So you can type that question in on the dashboard. It says ask a question. We've only got a few people here. You could type that into chat as well, in the Zoom chat here if you like. When when we exhaust our questions about Obvio, sometimes we get into general questions about how we do digital events, and we think about that, and then also often get into technical production sort of questions as well, and what camera to use, or what microphones to use, and how do you do more than one Zoom call at a time, and things like that. So we're happy to geek out with some of that too. So overheating. Asking for a friend. Overheating a ZVE 10. That's interesting. Is that with a dummy battery? Do you know, Marty?
So there's, I have a kind of four things that come to mind around this question, but my understanding is it's with the actual battery, but plugged into USB AC wall adapter. So switching to a dummy battery would be one step, I think, that could help with overheating. Pulling the monitor, the screen, either flip to the side, so pull the screen away from the body, I think could help. There's actually a setting in the menu system to switch the heat warning from normal to high. So switching that to high, and then being sure that you're not recording while you're using it as a camera. You don't need to be recording when you're using it as a webcam. So those are the things that came to mind. But I know Jenny was having some overheating issues with her camera yesterday. So
yeah, and you're not alone. I've heard other people complain of the same thing. So yeah, I'd take the battery out. I would look at the brightness control on the screen as well. I mean, it's small, right? But it could help turn the brightness right down, or if there's an option to turn it off, or the auto off on the screen, have that go off. Anything like that. I mean, one of the things that's great on the Sonys is how good the autofocus is, and maybe just that servo motor that's just constantly going in and out is heating it up. Don't know, but you could just take the battery out altogether as well, just see if it still functions, so it's not charging at all or not monitoring the battery in any way. And the battery's just completely out. That could help too. There's a few ideas. Give a brief mention of any new recent things, marketplace available or in trial. Hey, Sarah.
So marketplace is actually currently not on trial, or the beta is actually closed at this point. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason is there's some significant usability issues. The most glaring one being, from time to time, your entire sales page gets deleted, which feels like a pretty significant usability issue. And as a result of that, until we resolve that problem, we've decided it makes more sense to just hold off on letting users put a whole bunch of work into a sales page that then just gets deleted. And initially, the idea was to solve some of the other usability issues. We were actually rebuilding Marketplace from scratch. So kind of tearing down the foundation and building it from the ground up with some slightly different ideas in mind. And as a result of that, we chose not to try and fix the bug that exists in the current version of Marketplace because we're just rebuilding it from scratch anyway. The rebuild is taking a little bit longer than expected. We've also had some other items that have kind of crept in before it. But I anticipate that Marketplace should be done by the end of, I'm saying by the end of the year, but for me, the end of the year from a development perspective is really November, end of November, because while the team will continue to be working in the month of December, December's a light month, right? There's a couple of weeks there where not a whole lot of work happens. So the goal is to have it up and running by the end of November, hopefully a little bit sooner than that, but that's what I anticipate as a release date for the new marketplace feature.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing that I'll kind of just give you a heads up on is the team is hard at work on a new template. And I'm actually really excited about the new template and some of the features that it's bringing to the table. And some of the things that we're going to be able to take from that new template and put into a couple of the other templates that we have that may be missing this feature. So that should be done in the next couple of weeks, is where I think we are currently. SMS broadcasts are available, Muddy. That's just something that you have to request to be able to turn on. If you have a need for them, it's also in kind of that beta form. If you're in Leap currently, or you have the Leap plan, then we yesterday turned on broadcasts and SMS for everybody in Leap, but I know not everybody on this call is. So if that's something you want, just email help@obv.io, and we will get that turned on your account for you.
Okay. Oh. I was like, is that a question? Oh, Barry's just asking a question.
This call was Shelley Brander at 9.
Blue's just got to manage the mute. What's going on there? Okay. It's a very quiet morning this morning. There are a few people that have come in and just seeing what's going on, but we have no more questions that have come through, not on the dashboard or in chat. It could be a very an early finish for us on this week's call. I think I'm sure, yeah, that there's some people that were part of the Leap Obvio lab yesterday, and that's probably given them a fix for this week. But for those that haven't, is it permissible?
I think the question is, can we invite other helpers to this Obvio call?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and in fact, they can even just sign up using the sign up link. So update Obvio, and then sign_up. Actually, we had a request last week, Blue, to have that link just somewhere to find. You sort of have to guess what that is. But I'll post this, Jenny. So here it comes. So they can, there you go. You can send that to whomever. We generally, we want it to just be people that do have access to an Obvio account. They're sort of team members. They don't have to be owners, but they are part of the team, and so they understand that they have access, and so that they can put to practice what they're learning about Obvio, rather than it just being general information, I guess. So all right, it's getting to that point where we would be calling the death of this meeting. The login page with the sign up link for this call.
Yeah, so you mentioned the sign up the sign up link for update, right? If you had gone to just update.obv,
Mm-hmm.
if you'd gone to just update.obv.io without being signed in, kind of a nice new look and feel with a little more information that you can sign up there. So
Yeah, that's customizable at the bottom there, that the sign up link. So when sign up is enabled, then it automatically appears on the login page, and then that link to the sign up is customizable, and that's what we've done on that update page. Is put some extra. I might as well just show you quickly while we're talking about it. Just here. So we're just talking about this login page, and so here we've customized that somewhat. That's simply the sign up link. When I click that, it takes us to the sign up page, first name, last name, email, and in they come. So we are doing a few little tweaks on what happens to people if they have already signed up. So previously that would come up with an error, and we're working on a few different ways, because inevitably we have a few different. I've had to use the sign up page in a couple of ways for some events that worked really well, except when people wanted to come back again and they didn't necessarily have a password or know a password, and they didn't want to receive emails, but they wanted to be able to come in. And so we managed it okay, but it's just a little bit of a trick when someone wants to come in and they only want to use the sign up page. And that's the thing that we're playing with a little bit, to come up with some nicer ways so that particularly for free events that you don't want to send emails to, you just want them to be able to join and get in. That's what we're playing with. So you might notice some slightly different functionality or experience when someone tries to sign up with an email that's already exists. To the email list. Oh,
yeah,
right.
just to get the reminders. And
Yes.
I see Blue answered yes.
Yeah.
So the other
links back to Keith. Yeah.
The other question I had, or one thing that came up on the call yesterday that I noticed, and it had been a feature request I'd submitted a long time ago, but Blue had mentioned it in the call on the Zoom areas page, on an area page. There's two toggles, right? A toggle to open the room and a toggle to open the area, and they both just say open. And so the idea was that the one at the top of the page might be more clear if it said open area, and if the column heading for the other one said open room. So my question is, what's the best way to submit a feature request to help the team kind of put it on their radar?
Yeah, there is there's no other process other than through the support ticket, so help@obv.io. But it is something that I would love to have kind of a bit more of different ways of submitting that sort of thing, particularly around feature requests, because there isn't necessarily a process. But if you send it through, then we'll get it into, we use Asana for all our project management, and so we would tie it into an Asana wish list, and then that becomes a topic for discussion, and then that kind of steps into the process. So it'd be nice, to have it flick straight into Asana, into its own little list. But one day, I have seen a few other services online that are transparent around their roadmap for development, and I do like that. But sometimes that could, if we were to publish all of that, that would maybe give the wrong impression about what was going to be next, or and as you know, things can change as to the priorities of things. So Yeah, I don't. Yeah, yeah, voting would be great. But of course, just because it's voted by a lot of users may not necessarily mean it has high priority. It's a bit tricky. Yeah, I do like it. I've seen some really nice ones, and it also is really helpful for managing a change log, because it's an automatic change log in a way, because you've followed a process through. What was the music link suggested?
Kathleen has a question here about providing music during calls.
I didn't see that. Yeah, so there is epidemic sound. I recommend this. So the trick the trick is there's two key things. You always want to be cautious about your copyright, and I am not a lawyer, so I won't speak to the legalities of it. What I know is the copyright law is very strict around the performance, or performing. It's technically a re-performance of music, and so you have to be conscious of that. So therefore, getting things like royalty-free music is very helpful. Even on a closed Zoom call, using copyright-free music is a good idea. The other thing is too that if you do end up posting your videos onto something like YouTube, or maybe even a segment of it, and you were using copyrighted music, it could get taken down, or it could get muted, or there's a few different things that YouTube will do when it comes to music. And so if you use something like Epidemic Sound and you had a subscription to that, you'll find all sorts of great music. You'll find a style that you like. And what it allows you to do is nominate YouTube channels that it will automatically, when it gets a hit challenging its copyright, it knows that you have a license and you're all good. And so it's a very good system. I really like Epidemic Sound. There's a few others around as well, but yeah.
So the other part of that question was advice for using a Stream Deck to kind of play music into a call. And so one of the things that occurs to me is that there's a Spotify integration for Stream Deck. Using the native Stream Deck app, you can get a plugin for Spotify. And I agree with Grant that copyright-free music is definitely what you want to aim for a number of reasons, but just give you the most flexibility of what to do with recordings as well in the end is one of those considerations. And I use Spotify with an artist named Stream Beats, which provides also copyright-free playlists, hi-fi and lo-fi and chill. And so I have a button on my Stream Deck that plays a Spotify playlist, playing one of the Stream Beats Spotify playlists, so I can do that. The other thing that I would ask Grant just to chime in on a little bit is the challenge of playing live music into a call, and maybe some of the ways to do that, maybe some of the easiest ways where you don't have to worry about original sound, or then maybe some of the challenges with original sound settings. But I think there's a way to use that with advanced screen sharing. Is that right?
There's a little softball there, Muddy. Thank you. Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to talk about. It was just the differences with playing out music. So the more advanced way is to send that music back through essentially your microphone channel, and that would often require some sort of hardware mixer, or maybe you're doing some software mixing. either way you do that, it's a tricky way of doing it, because monitoring that becomes difficult as well. Knowing exactly what's going into the Zoom call may not necessarily be what you're hearing. And so that's a little tricky. So as Muddy's saying, now let me just say that I'll complete that thought, and that is, I think that trying to do that on your own, if you're hosting and you're trying to play music, is somewhat of a recipe for disaster. If you have somebody else who's managing it, then they can listen to you and the music, and they can mix it all in, and they can make that work. And so I would try to go a much more simple approach if you were doing this yourself. And so Muddy's point is absolutely correct, and that is, let me show you first what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit share screen. I'm going to share my screen as well. There's a button right down the bottom, or a checkbox down the bottom of the share screen that says share sound. So you want to share your system sound as well. And what I'm going to do is share my screen as well, just to show you briefly. I just happen to be logged into Epidemic Sound, and if I play something now, then you and so you're hearing that. You also saw that I was sharing it. Now, what I'm going to do now instead is I'm going to hit share screen. I'm going to go to the advanced tab, and there's an option there to share computer audio. And I'm going to hit that. And now I'm going to go and hit that same button. You should find that depending on how I turn that level up and down, I can still talk over the top of it. And technically, it's two separate things that are being sent out. You're hearing my microphone directly, but also hearing the music sharing. And so I would recommend that as a way of doing it. You still kind of want to get, I got a thumbs up from Muddy to say that this was okay. You really do. It's hard to monitor a little bit exactly the level that's going in to that screen share. So you want to manage that a little bit and have someone giving you feedback, or test it before and totally different call and try it all out. But that can work quite well. Now, of course, it's technically like a screen share sort of thing that's going on, and so if you needed to screen share as well, then that would change it, right? So, and if you wanted to share screen, you wanted to share audio, but then you wanted someone else to screen share, well, that wouldn't work. Take over. So, that's a little bit about. I think it's a great. It is a great thing to add to events, though. Have some music playing as people come in. Often when you do things like little activities where you want people to write some notes out, take a few minutes to write some notes down, it's great to throw on some music, then some thinking music, and not have it just silence, So anyway, that's the deep dive for music. Sharing music. Cool. Double check if there was any other questions that came through. Nope, nothing in the chat there. Nope. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I think we're going to call it. It might be our quietest one yet. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Next week it's 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, and so people might be more awake then. You want to ask a question, Jenny?
I just thought I'd throw that in the end like I normally do, just to make sure you're on your toes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. Thank you. I am. All right.
No, my
Well,
head's still exploding from yesterday. So,
yeah, right. Nice. That's great. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.